Okay, fellas, all eyes on Bitcoin right here. And in this video, we'll talk about BTC on the small time frames, and then we'll jump into BNB and key areas to be discussed, guys. So let's talk about what's happening in the bigger picture. In the 3-day time frame itself, we have the 350 simple moving average that is coming alongside the 6-minute retracement out of this entire bull market, guys, or let's just say this bullish wave to the upside, right? You know that the 618 or the golden pocket is coming at your $27,500 regions, extending all the way towards $28,000 flat. Now that area is being reinforced by the 350 simple on the 3-day time frame itself, which is why, guys, maybe Bitcoin in the small to mid time frames will actually grind and squeeze against this entire zone for a very long time. So expecting crazy amount of bearishness or expecting crazy amount of breakdowns immediately going down to 12,000 or 13,000 is probably going to be off the cards for the mid time frame altogether. However, if you talk about the 4-hour time frame, you can see that, guys, as discussed on the previous video, literally yesterday we got rejected from the 55 simple on the 4-hour time frame, and we are back into this grind line support right here, and Bitcoin is kind of squeezing, slipping and sliding alongside this net trend line. And essentially, guys, the roadmap which is kind of planned is following up in the small time frames. And essentially, until you're not losing this entire support line to the downside, no breakdowns all the way towards 27,000, guys. Hell, I mean, it can happen in the small time frames today as well, but until you see a 4-hour confirmation below this entire low right here, targets towards $27,000 is going to be off the cards, at least in the small time frames. But once you see a trend establishment below this entire support zone at 29,500 on a 4-hour trending basis, you can kind of capitalize on a good looking trend to the downside, guys. A good looking 7% leg is something which we can expect on Bitcoin, and then we can expect a bounce in the small time frames from these levels, because it's kind of like an obvious macro support altogether as well. And then something like this could also happen in the small time frames, which is when we go and revisit these levels, guys. So two scenarios that can play out in the small to mid time frames. What I'm looking forward to in the small time frames, however, is going to be not doing anything against the trend in the small time frames, which is not taking a short position until we have a confirmation trend below 29,500 on a 4-hour trending basis altogether. Once we establish a trend below this price point, yes, guys, the targets towards $27,000 most likely will come into fruition in the small time frames altogether, right? Okay. With that said, let's talk about BNB on the daily time frame. Now, look, guys, I'm going to be pointing out some obvious facts right here. The 350 simple has been guiding the trend to the upside and the downside. Most of your macro accumulation zones, most of the big fat buying opportunities in the big time frame for BNB has simply been below the 350 simple, guys. The blue moving average, the dark blue moving average you can see right here, which is kind of like a super trend indicator for BNB itself, is telling us a lot of things once again. I mean, essentially, until BNB is trending below this entire region right here, $350 flat, it's most likely going to get accumulated. And in the bigger picture, the trend is certainly to the downside, with Bitcoin doing the same kind of shit in the market, guys. So what's happening in the small time frames is kind of, let's say, guys, a back-to-back replica of what Bitcoin is doing in the price action altogether, right? Getting rejected from the 55 simple, and small time frames grind line is supporting the price action to the upside. However, this one is kind of a little aggressive, guys. I mean, Bitcoin's grind line is not that aggressive to the upside, but BNB's grind line is kind of aggressive to the upside, which means that as Bitcoin kind of slips and slides to the downside, most likely altcoins against BTC will kind of pick up, and this is being indicated by BNB's price action to the upside, because this trend, this small time frame buy trend, is kind of looking steeper than Bitcoin itself, guys. Now, one more time, I mean, until you are losing a trend below this price point right here, which is essentially your $292 regions on a 4-hour opening and a closing basis, the downside targets, however, will not come into fruition altogether, guys. But essentially, ultimately, your downside target, once we resolve this grind line to the downside, which is going to be aligning with whatever Bitcoin is doing in the market, could be your rising wedge breakdown targets, which could be your $266 regions, coming in at this bullish engulfing price point right here at $266 flat, guys. Now, essentially, you have a good looking trading range on Bitcoin and BNB as well, which is why, guys, most likely both of these cryptos is something which can be traded together, right? If you see Bitcoin breaking down, you can certainly jump into BNB short position as well in the market altogether, and then you can kind of capitalize on a downswing all the way towards your $266 regions, guys. And look, guys, in these uncertain times, you got to stick to one single exchange. You have to stick to, well, yes, you got it right. I'm going to be shilling my referral link right here, guys. Sign up to FTX. If you're not trading on an exchange like FTX in these kind of landscapes, something will always be up your mind that maybe something would go wrong with my equity altogether, guys. Although I do have my trust with Binance as well, because that is literally the market leader. But if you are trading actively in these time frames, in these landscapes, guys, I think FTX has to be the first choice. FTX literally has to be the first choice. Links will be in the description. You can sign up to get crazy discounts on your maker and taker fees in the market if you're trading the perpetual contracts altogether, guys. For me personally, I'm simply going to be trading on FTX, nothing else, guys, nothing else altogether, right? Okay, so with that said, I think that's pretty much it for this video right here, guys. The upside resistance is simply coming in at your 55 simple moving average on BNB's price action, on BTC's price action as well. For Bitcoin, although, it's kind of aligning with this entire rejection point, guys, and essentially until Bitcoin is below $32,000 on a trending basis, at least on the 4-hour time frame itself, I don't think that we can get exuberantly bullish in the market, because most likely any leg to the upside is going to be a rejection in the first and the foremost pass, and the price action will always retrace back to the mean trend line or mean price points altogether, guys. With that said, I will be catching all of you pretty soon. Bye for now.